All right, guys, we are live. This is the Sherdog recap show for UFC 311 that just went down in Los Angeles, California. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. My normal co-host is the senior editor of sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. But let me tell you, the listeners, what happened. Ben called me up this morning and he said, Keith, I know this is a big one. I know I'm the sidekick. He said, I know I'm the B side to the A side. He understands that. But he says, dude, I want to do the show, but I hurt my back. I can't do it. I hurt my back. So he had to drop out. I said, all right, I'm going to bed. I said, I can carry the recap show with anybody. Book whoever you want. They called up the man. They said, let's get Dev in here. Dev's answer was, I don't give a fuck. Give me money. Let's do the show. Here he is, my co-host, Devin Tejada. Devin, how you doing, man?
Good. I really appreciate the intro. That's more than I deserve. I also have a way less cool title than Ben when it comes to my Sherdog, my Sherdog status. I'm happy to be here. UFC 311, I called it beautiful disaster, and it kind of was. Really, really cool card. I'm excited to be here to talk about it.
Yeah, we got 13 fights to talk about. Shout out to all the people in the chat. We'll get to them before the night gets over. One thing I will say, obviously this card went down in Los Angeles. Still, we have the wildfires and all that going on. So obviously, we're thoughts and prayers for all those people out there. Hope they stay safe. I'm glad the UFC could maybe keep people's minds in that area off that terrible disaster that's going on right now. But Dev, before we get into this, let me tell you about my day. It is 1:23 a.m. I've been going nonstop since about 7:30 this morning. My oldest daughter, she plays softball. I'm one of the coaches. We had softball practice early morning. They did some infield work. I was playing first base, so I was catching all the throws from all the infielders. Then we did batting practice, and I pitched the entire batting practice to every single kid. So I was tired from that. After that, I had to go home, get my son, go right to wrestling practice, where I also coach. Luckily, I wasn't wrestling, but that takes a lot of energy, yelling and screaming. And then after that, my son's it was his birthday on Thursday, so we threw him a birthday party. It was at this paintball place. So I was running around playing paintball all day, getting shot at, and I got bruises on my arms and my stomach. Then just to run home and watch 13 fights and now do a recap show at 1:23. I'm old. I'm tired. I've had 3 Monster Energy drinks today. I'm about 4 Sam's Cola deep, trying to get my caffeine. If I had any more caffeine in me, I start screaming like
you'd levitate.
I might be like Jesse Spano and start screaming. I'm so excited. Nobody will get that reference except for me because I'm old enough, but that was actually a really good reference. All right, let's talk about the fights. We had 13 fights. We had, on paper, one of the best cards really ever, one of the best cards of the year. That really was when we did the preview show. I know when you did your preview show, I know you do it a day after ours. You were breaking down Arman Tsarukyan coming in, challenging Islam Makhachev. Everything fell apart. Last minute, Umar Moicano took the place of Arman Tsarukyan, and Islam Makhachev just let everyone know how freaking good this dude is. He wins by first round submission. Obviously, I'm assuming you agree with me when this bout was made, you were a little disappointed. You were disappointed with Tsarukyan.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I was pretty bummed. I'll never be mad watching Islam Makhachev fight. I mean, this is one of those dudes that people that hate on guys like Islam and Khabib, they won't understand. And then 20 years from now, when people are talking about him still, they might feel a little bit silly because Islam it's like he's just, and going into this fight, I called him more well-rounded than 98% of people that have ever fought in an octagon point blank period. And he may be 99%. I don't know if I could think of anyone more well-rounded than this guy. He's an incredible talent, and
Johnson.
He's incredible. Like,
like when I think of well-rounded guys, Demetrius Johnson is the first guy I think of. But if someone said Islam Makhachev, I'm not arguing with you.
they're to me, they're 1 and 2. Like,
Yeah.
they're the two
There's
most
a
that
couple
I've.
other guys you throw in there, but yeah.
And it's just watching this dude perform is incredible. So
He's
I'm never going to be mad.
He's the when you go back and you think about, I'm not talking about like the Hoist Gracie days, but like when MMA was really starting to take off a little bit. I'm talking, the heyday of Randy Couture, the heyday of Tito Ortiz, and there was still specialists, but they were like on a higher level than they were when it was like karate guy versus boxer versus sumo guy,
Sure.
But they would always talk about the upcoming generations, how they would come in so well-rounded, and this is what we have now. This is what we were talking about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
He's a perfect example of that. This is how I feel about this matchup. I feel like I went, I'm from New England, tons of seafood places. I love seafood. I go in there and I'm not a fish guy, but I'm like a shellfish guy, like lobsters and all that stuff. Like I'm going into my favorite restaurants and I got my wife with me. We're on a hot date. I'm getting some lobster. I've been thinking about it all day. I think about it all week. I'm getting a nice lobster. I'm going to be hitting the tail, the claws. I'm excited. I know I'm going to be all messy, but I'm going to be eating good. And they tell me they just sold the last lobster.
They ran out.
And instead I get like a bowl of clam chowder. Now, don't get me wrong. I still like clam chowder. Clam chowder is great.
Maybe not clam chowder. I would consider this like a crab cake. Like you're still getting something. Yeah, okay. You're still getting something,
Crab cake's pretty damn good though.
You get the crab cake, maybe with a little bit of Dungeness crab. But that, that lobster tail, we didn't get it. And Armin might not ever get another shot because
we'll talk about that in a little bit. I want to ask you about it because I want to talk about that. So
sure.
The one big thing is not that it was a lesser opponent, but to me, when I broke them down and I almost reached out to Ben to do, we've done it before, doing a real quick like Friday night change. We've done it before when the whole, remember the Nate Diaz,
Hamzat and
that. And all that.
Yeah.
So I thought about reaching out to him. I just had I had some plans with my kids and stuff, and I was just like, I could do it super late at night, and I just didn't feel like doing it. If I'm being 100% honest.
Sure.
And actually, Ben was off this whole weekend anyway, so but I was just it was not a matchup I was like could even get excited. I was trying to think about ways that Moicano could win, and I couldn't think of one because I'm saying like, yeah, could he outpoint him from the outside, kicking and punching? No, because if he's having his way on the feet, Mark's just gonna take him down like we saw. Is he
even when he wasn't having his way with him on the feet?
Yeah, I'm saying if he if he was having his way, yeah. If Moicano was having his way, he's picking him apart from range. Mark's just gonna take him down. Could Moicano sub him? I'm like, well, obviously that could happen, but we've seen him face better grapplers than Moicano. Moicano, could he knock him out? Yeah, anybody can catch the chin and knock him out, but he's not known for his power. So it's like, yeah, there's possibilities that have happened, but the likelihood was so. And of course, I know everybody say, "Hey, Matt Serra knocked out George St. Pierre," and all these. There's examples out there, but there's always I've heard it. People always bring up the Matt Serra, George St. Pierre, and rightfully so. But we've had 300 type fights like that didn't go the way. One guy was a huge favorite. So this was just such a great style. I mean, it seems like everybody's a good stylistic matchup for Islam Makhachev, but this was like even easier for him.
I put this in the Sherdog Slack like before the main card started. I don't know if you got a chance to see this in the little scoring section that we score in. And my question was to everyone in there, is there a better chance for Moicano to win this fight like as a legitimate win? Or is there a better chance that Islam, slips on a banana peel? Like what are the better odds for an actual Moicano win? Like a freak Islam injury? I was leaning toward freak Islam injury. Like there's literally more of a chance that Moicano wins this fight by Islam, jumping up and down like Ortega did and breaking his ankle and Moicano getting the dub that way. I just did not see a route to victory. I was having a conversation with my buddy earlier today, and he's like, "What's Moicano ranked?" He watches fights, but he's a little more casual. And I kind of explained to him, if all top 10 light weights made 155 and were there to just, pick you, Moicano would have probably been the 8th choice.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Like he wouldn't be if everybody was available for.
Yeah, like if Dustin Hook, like if Dustin was there at 155, Dustin Poirier would have got a rematch, even though he got finished. Over Moicano.
I was even though I vote on it, and I still don't remember who did this, but the first guy who ever called me out for not memorizing the Sherdog rankings, even though I vote on them.
I do
Moicano,
too.
Yeah, Moicano is currently he's in our like honorable mention, but he's in like the 11th spot, so he's 11th in the Sherdog. Again, Sherdog is, we cover the entire sport, so there could be, even though there isn't anybody from other organizations ranked higher than him, but generally speaking, that could be the case. Man, everything went right for Islam. I mean, there was this point where like I thought he got dropped, but it was like he ended up being that he ended up slipping, and then once he took him down, I was like, I think the fight's over right now. Like I had no doubt. I'm like, this is a BJJ black belt, and I'm like, I think he's gonna submit him, and then he does.
It's just kind of like, Moicano may be a black belt, but like, there's difference in black belts, but when it comes to like grappling chops, like Islam's like a coral belt. Like he's just like a 4th strike. Like it's just, there's a level. Like it just, that Darce choke, the way he slapped that shit on, like it was just curtains. Like this headlock game is so good. Like everything he does.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the greatest of Makhachev second. I mean, I give Moicano a lot of credit. Yeah. He's stepping up on one day's notice. He's got to add 2 extra rounds. Now, it's not like the guy it's not a Dan Ige situation where he's at home. I'm not gonna give him that much credit. But it was more of like an Al Iaquinta situation where you're already on the card, you're scheduled to fight somebody, all of a sudden you get bumped to the, you're not a guy that anybody's thinking about getting a title shot. Suddenly you're right place, right time. So I give him credit, but like everyone keeps talking about like, oh, what an opportunity for Moicano and crazy balls for him to take the fight on, one day's notice. Like it goes both ways too. Like Makhachev also is facing Moicano on one day's notice. Now, sure, he was preparing for a 5-round fight, so I definitely think it's still an advantage for him compared to a guy who's only training for 3 rounds. But it's such a different fighter. You're talking about a short Armenian guy to a taller Brazilian lengthy guy. You're talking about a pocket boxer with wrestling compared to a
tough dude with a sub game.
Yeah, like distance kickboxer with like the traditional BJJ grappling style. So there was an adjustment, but to me everything was like easier. I
don't even watching, like, people forget the RDA fight with Moicano, and I watched that fight yesterday, like after this got put together last moment, and RDA, the takedowns RDA was getting on Moicano, I just knew like there's
and as Austin Gianola, I apologize if I pronounce your last name wrong, mentioned. Yeah, he took that fight on short fight. I think he took the week of the fight on 5 days' notice. So, he has experience doing it, but it's been 2 utter failures in a row.
They're both ass kickings.
Yeah, I think against RDA, he maybe won a round.
I think he won the 5th.
Yeah,
but he was like, it was one of those like. The ground and pound in that fight reminded me of like Glover and Anthony Smith. Like he was getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Like he was getting thumped up.
Yeah.
His face was all.
Yeah. To his credit, he didn't make any excuses after the loss. I thought he actually had one of the most gracious defeats. When he talked about tonight when he lost and they said, 1 day's notice. He's like, I didn't take this on 1 day's notice. This is my lifetime notice. Like I've been preparing to fight for the title my whole life. So I thought it was a really, really cool response. And one of those ones, like he'll let other people make the excuses for him. So let me ask you this. I want to talk about the greatness of Makhachev again. We talked about, obviously he's well-rounded, but his ground game to me, I tweeted this out. I think it's second to none. And when you combine wrestling, like we have a lot of guys who are really good at wrestling. We have a lot of guys who are really good at jiu-jitsu and submissions. But the blend, the combination to be really good and high level, the highest level. When you think about the greatest wrestlers in UFC history, and I'm not talking about credentialed wrestlers because we've had Mark Schultz come over and Kevin Jackson. It's like, well, yeah, they're talking about kind of guys at the end of their competitive, runs, and then try MMA at the end. I'm talking about like guys who've implemented wrestling. I'm talking about Randy Couture, Josh Koscheck, or GSP. He's in that category. But when you think about guys who implement a jiu-jitsu base, a submission base, your David Myers, your Jacare, obviously Charles Oliveira, he's in that category too.
And he's probably the best in both. Like, I'm sorry, Charles Oliveira fans, but Islam's a much more dangerous grappler. You can't convince me otherwise.
So let me ask you this: is he the greatest?
Yes.
Ground fighter.
I don't even hear the question.
In MMA history. When you think about I'm not talking about I'm not saying who's the greatest fighter. I'm saying this. I mean, just counting when the fight hits the ground. His ability to get the fight to the ground and then finish the fight.
With Islam, it's going to almost always be yes. Like, he is incredible. And the only person that, not the only person, of course, but like he is up there with, it's like him and Khabib. Like, there's just,
that's it. That's it. Those two guys.
Because both of them have incredible sub games. Like, both of them have, and I think Islam is clearly not the athlete or not as durable as Khabib ever was. But he is so tricky and so slick. And if you open the door just a hair, he's going to kick that effort wide open. The way he got that Darce right now, like it was just there for 1 second. He just jumped right on that front headlock and it was over. He's so dangerous there. And then, not to mention his striking is just really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. What has amazed me about Khabib and Islam is a lot of these guys who are really good, submission artists, they come from the traditional jiu-jitsu background and they were already good at submissions and they came into MMA. And it was almost like these guys were great wrestlers, takedowns. And obviously I know that from Combat Sambo and there's submissions and that, but they originally showed up in the scene and was out wrestling people, controlling them, ground and pounding them. And then as they rised up the rankings, they suddenly this jiu-jitsu part of their game, the submission part of the game really comes through that we didn't see early on in their career. And it's like, how are you like a guy that I didn't view as a submission threat to suddenly the fight hits the ground? This guy, he's got submission, like it's gonna be over in no time against BJJ black belts.
This is really, it's not the same the way it ended, but just the other day, I watched the Justin Gaethje and Khabib Nurmagomedov fight, and the way he cuts the angle, gets the takedown, gets triangle and mount, and switches to triangle armbar was like just the same like fluidity. Like both of these dudes are just, when it comes to the grappling, everything is just so smooth. Everything is tied together so well, and I think you're spot on. Where just the perfect blend of the wrestling, grappling, and BJJ submission game it's. I don't know what it's going to be like in the future because we're at a point now, like, how could people be better than this?
No,
like, what's next? How could you be better than this? I don't know, man.
They're going to have to start getting like X-Men and shit in these, like, I don't know. Like, it's absolutely insane. And so then the big debate going on to this one, and I knew we were going to have this debate. I kind of talked to Ben on the preview show. I kind of hinted at that we talked about this debate. They hate doing it, and I get it. It's really weird. Like, even really close friends, training partners, it's your head coach. Like, has Islam Makhachev passed Khabib? I think there's two categories. I'll give you this. I think there's one category. When you think about greatness of fighter, there's one side of the category which the purists will ignore. And I would say Ben is definitely more of a purist than I am. There is the markability side to there's a greatness to the markability side. I mean, like Ben would ignore that. But to me, Khabib had much bigger personality, like just naturally more charisma without trying to be like having charisma. He'd say, I think that Islam is funny, especially when he's with DC. He needs that like other person. But like Khabib would be doing the press conference and he'd just say like, I'm going to smash them and that's number one bullshit. And he'd have these like all-time great lines that he wasn't trying to, deliver.
Authentic, just
just came. It was just perfect. He also had the biggest moment. He had the Conor.
Mm-hmm.
Islam has never had anybody to that level of magnitude. I mean, Khabib's in the biggest fight of MMA history and won. Yeah. And then but then there's the other side when you talk about greatness and like what they actually accomplished, what their resume is. And to me, that's the argument for Islam. One, he now has more title defenses. So obviously Khabib left early, and that he kind of hurt your own legacy doing that. The one thing that Khabib always going to have on him is that retiring undefeated always puts a little more shine than if Khabib had one loss early in his career, I don't think he's in the GOAT conversations, like all-time GOAT. When the people talk about John Jones and Demetrius Johnson and those guys, some people throw Khabib in there. If he had one loss early in his career, I don't think his resume is strong enough compared to those guys. But when you talk about greatest lightweights, it's one of those divisions that really isn't someone head and shoulders over. You have, when you think of other divisions, you think of middleweight. You say, who's the greatest middleweight? 99 out of 100 people are going to say, Anderson Silva. Like, you say, who's the greatest welterweight? 99 out of 100. I always say 99 out of 100 because there's like people with the earth is flat and shit. But
and they'll say like BJ Penn or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Like you say welterweight, most people say George St. Pierre. You say whatever, light heavyweight, John Jones. Lightweight is one of the ones no one had this really long dominant run. But if you look, so he has more title defenses now. He passed it. And then look at the resume. Look who each guy beat. Who's the strong? Let me give you a couple, and I'm going to make you pick because it's very close. I'll give you some of the names for Khabib. Gaethje, Poirier, McGregor, Iaquinta, Barbosa, Michael Johnson, RDA. Pretty damn good list.
And you also have to keep in mind a lot of those, they share a couple of similar opponents, but Khabib's happened first. And then another thing that I take into consideration is, okay, well, how much damage was accrued through those fights? Because Islam Makhachev accrued more damage against Dustin Poirier alone than Khabib did in his whole career.
No, yeah.
And that's
Makhachev's resume, Moicano, they both have Poirier. That's the guy in common. Volkanovski twice. Charles Oliveira, Bobby Green, Dan Hooker, Armin Sorkin. I don't think he's past Khabib yet, but it's fucking close. It is right there.
So for me, I'm like, I do really care about like, okay, well, what happened also in those fights? Like how much damage was accrued? Like, again, Khabib took less damage in his whole UFC career than Islam did in one fight against Volk, or even in one fight against Dustin Poirier. So stuff like that matters. Another thing too is it's going to be really hard to be greater than someone when that dude is in your corner yelling orders at you.
Yeah,
like he's it's going to be really hard. But at the end of the day, like, who cares? It's 1A, 1B either way, and those two guys wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, of course.
Like that's exactly what Khabib's dad would want.
But eventually, I feel if Islam keeps winning,
one more,
he wins 2 or 3 more fights.
Yeah, even one maybe.
Habib has to say he's better than him.
I bet you Khabib already would say it. I guarantee Khabib would already say it.
He probably would. He's super humble. And then if you put Makhachev on the spot and say, he'd say
he's going to say Khabib.
Yeah. That's kind of who they are. But yeah, I kind of we're on the same page where Khabib. When we talk
Just
about
dominance.
when we talk about names, not talking about what they did, but you're talking about strictly names, I think Islam's got him beat. It's close. It's very, very close. But when
2 wins over Volk and Charles Oliveira is real important.
That's why. But when you think about what happened, Khabib looked human in one fight, the Gleison Tebow fight. And if you go by the judges' scorecard, he didn't lose a single round on any of the judges' scorecard. Makhachev has looked human at sometimes. Now, the guys he's looked human against are kind of like inhuman themselves. You know, I'm thinking Volkanovski, you know, the first fight, Poirier had, I think Poirier, I don't think it was as close as people think it was, but
no.
But still, like he
even Sarukian in their fight.
Sarukian, the first one, yeah. Sarukian to me reminds me a lot of like the Gleison Tebow fight.
Yep.
But you know, what has he done? Like the rematch against Volkanovski, and I know that was Volkanovski taking that very short notice and everything, but what he did to Charles Oliveira,
wasn't short notice.
So let's match make. Yeah. Then that was incredible. Let's match make for a second. To me, there's like 3 kind of candidates. You have Arman Tsarukyan, who was supposed to fight tonight. You have Charles Oliveira, who was kind of like promised the winner of that, and they were supposed to fight each other. And when Oliveira got hurt and Volkanovski had to step up, and then the third one is kind of throwing his name in, going off on Twitter. Ilia Topuria moving up. Do this. Rank them. 1, 2, and 3. You pick up the phone. You're a UFC matchmaker. Who you calling first?
I want to read Ilia Topuria's tweet real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
This is from Ilia Topuria. Islam, if I want to, I can finish you. If I want to, I can knock you out. I'll make it look easy. See you soon. You want me to read Jamal Hill's Twitter? Because I got screenshots of that too.
But that guy, Ilya's the man. He's just the man. His confidence is unheard of.
But I mean, he's got every right to be right. If I could rank what I want to see next for Islam, you know, in 5 years from now, people are going to poke holes at this because they're going to be like, well, he fought a featherweight twice, and then he fought Moicano.
You can do that with Fedor. I guess literally break down Fedor's and really dig in and be like, he didn't beat anybody.
Yep.
I can be like, oh, after Fedor beat Krokop, you know, Krokop came to the UFC and he lost this many, and then Fedor beat these guys, and Mark Coleman was 50 years old when he fought him, and he fought Kevin Randleman, who would go on to lose like 8 out of the last 9 fights, or I was talking off my top of my head. You could do it with everybody. He beat Heath Herring, who was like a B-level heavyweight. Like you can always do that with everybody.
Sure. My choices for Islam is I don't care to see him fight Oliveira again. Like I just, you know,
sure.
Why we saw once, like people love all of, like nothing's gonna change, and even more. Nothing's going to change. And Arman Tsarukyan probably lost his chance at a fight. I mean, he seemed weird during fight week and everything as well. But I don't know if the UFC is going to be rushing to put Arman Tsarukyan in another title fight after pulling out like this the day before. Like he kind of, you know, Arman kind of fucked this up. Like he should have said something. I listened to Pahumpa's interview. I think it was with Mike Bone maybe yesterday, saying like we kind of had an idea about a week ago, but we thought it was just a end of camp injury. Like
yeah, you're trying to they probably try to save it, you
know. So I don't think that you pull out last minute like this. If he was the co-main event, maybe it was different. I think Islam needs to sit back and see if Shavkat Rakhmonov beats Bilal Muhammad. And then maybe he can go up there and really, search for true legacy, something Khabib never did.
So you're doing the super fight the other direction.
Yeah. Or the other direction, or those are my number 1 and 2. Either he can go fight if Shavkat figures out a way to beat Bilal Muhammad. I actually don't think he will. then he can go up there and fight Shavkat, or he can fight Ilia Topuria.
I feel so. As far as I didn't think of Shavkat. I thought Bilal. I know that's not going to happen. Shout out to Bilal who scored the co-main event for Umar.
Yeah,
Umar being biased, but I checked the decision. Nobody scored it for Umar, not a single person,
not even Helen Keller.
So my one issue with Shavkat, if he won the title, I feel like he doesn't deserve a super fight yet. You know, if he had like 3-4 title defenses, that's different. So I'm kind of stuck because Aman is in a good position because if you're going strictly for top lightweights, Islam has kind of wiped out the division. You know, the top guys. No one has really rose up above everybody. You know, he's beaten Poirier, he's beaten Oliveira, he's Gaethje's coming off a loss, and I know he's fighting again, but so he's kind of in that position where, like, I know he's beaten our men, but that was such a long time ago. And stylistically, I think most people would still argue that's the toughest fight for him. But if he really does have a back injury, that changes things.
And he's back like 27, dude.
Like, yeah, but back injury. I mean, people say what they want. People always talk about like T Ortiz when they're like good. Once he had neck surgery, he was completely different fighter. It ruined his career. I mean, there's some other screws loose in Tito, but that's one example I always talk about. So that's the argument for him. The argument for Topuria is the argument against the super fights is it holds up 2 divisions. But the argument for Topuria is there really isn't a featherweight that's really deserves, like, has really shown they're the guy. You know, that's, I mean, I guess Evloev and I know what's the Mexican guy? I can't think of his name.
Diego Lopez is fighting Yair Rodriguez, and he's fighting Yair Rodriguez.
Oh, there you go. So
yeah,
there really isn't somebody there that has. Like,
he's Brazilian, by the way. Sorry, but he fights out of Mexico.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, right. I call them Mexican, so that's on me. So there really isn't any, like, you know what I mean? Like, Topuria has that argument.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira is just, his argument is he's just, of the 3 guys, he's loved more than anybody. Like, Charles Oliveira has this cult following, which is cool, but I still, like, I've never really wrapped my head around like why he's so beloved. But the argument against that is he's already lost, and we both kind of agree. And I think nothing changed. The one argument for Charles, if anybody could catch Makhachev in a submission, it's Charles. Now, we saw Makhachev smoke him on the ground, but it's still, you're talking about the guy with the most submissions in UFC history. He's not one of these, like, take you down, hold you down, grind you out, Gelton Almeida style, and then sub you. He's a catch you 1 second, sleep in 1 second, I'm on your neck, like, opportunistic kind of guy.
Or like an arm bar after getting, like, ground and pounded to shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or, 45 seconds straight.
Yeah,
Throws up an arm bar or something weird.
So
that's a banana peel, though, at this point, right?
No, I agree. I'm really torn because I don't want to do the Topuria fight. I feel like you can build it even bigger. I think it's like a little too early. I think you could build it even bigger.
My concern for that. How long can Islam continue? Like, how long is Islam willing, to stay at 55?
Yeah, I don't know. Or how long can he make it? Because he's a big dude. So I know you're kind of like rolling the dice. I'm just gonna do the Charles fight. I know that sounds crazy. It's not the most exciting one, but Charles gets people super excited.
Yeah,
Islam doesn't care about going into enemy territory. Throw him in Brazil in a pay-per-view in Brazil.
He said in this post fight, "I like this belt. This is my belt, and this is my octagon. If you want to fight me, come meet me here." And, like, just pieced out. I really like Islam's post-fight interview, by the way. And he just said, this is my octagon. Like, meet me here. I don't care who it is.
Jay's over here using, like, real fancy words, and I have no idea what the hell that means. You have to explain that in layman's terms.
We're in a tough spot, because Shavkat doesn't. If he beats Bilal, like, he doesn't deserve a fight with Islam. But, if you look at it the other way around, well, would Islam deserve a fight at 170? Best case scenario best case scenario is something happens and there's like a vacant 170 title and maybe Islam can do something there. But Topuria, you knock out Volk and you knock out Holloway back to back. Holloway was also basically the number one contender, even though the knockout happened at 145. Holloway was the number one contender at 155 after he knocked out Gaethje at UFC 300.
Yeah, but you can't give Holloway a match after he just lost.
No, I'm saying for Topuria though, like that, you can use that.
His argument, yeah. Oh yeah, and his argument also is like what I did with Volkanovski. Like, yeah, you knocked out short notice Volkanovski, but full camp Volkanovski, you came down to a decision where a lot of people thought you lost. I knocked Volkanovski out cold.
And Max Holloway.
And which no one has done. Yeah, which nobody has done. So there's what are you gonna do with Moicano? Would you just give him the Dariush fight, or
it kind of sucks that Grant Dawson and him are probably training partners?
Yeah.
Because he should probably fight like Gamrot. They're probably training partners too.
I'm gonna go bigger, but not bigger in rankings, bigger in entertainment. I'm giving a fight night main event in England against the fight he wanted. You step up on one day's notice, you get the fight you wanted. Give him Patty in England. It's a winnable fight, and it's a bigger fight, even though those other guys are higher than him in the rankings.
I like it. Did you see that video of Patty fighting that dude, like a smoker fight in the gym? That went all over the place today. I'll send it to you after he some 3-2 MMA fighter was talking shit to Patty. Yeah, it happened today.
Oh, I was paintballing and I was talking shit during paintball.
This guy up, Keith, and he I guess they had a gentleman's agreement to the smoker fight wouldn't stop until someone was unconscious, so Patty wouldn't let go of the rear naked choke.
Don't do that.
It's pretty bad. Pretty stupid too.
Yeah, pro fighters just don't do that shit. Just don't do it. All right, let's move on. A fight that after the main event fell through, a fight that might have been the best fight on paper anyways. Merab Dvalishvili took on Umar Nurmagomedov. Merab winning a unanimous decision. When I think about MMA fights, greatness, why I have so many reasons like why do I love MMA? And I'm like, staying up at 2:00 in the morning talking about fights. It's not one of the reasons on a Sunday, This is one of the reasons. This fight was fucking awesome.
I loved this fight. It was a really interesting fight. I picked Merab going into this. I don't know who you picked going into this. I picked Merab because this is exactly how I expected it.
So me and Ben both went opposite sides. I went Umar, he went Merab. But I feel like so one thing me and Ben do, and I know you're kind of the same way, like we're not pump our chests. I mean, especially my record this year is very mediocre. I had two cards and I've been very mediocre in both of them, but that's not us. We're not like, oh, look at me, I made this great pick. I enjoy being wrong. I enjoy things happening different than I expect. This is exactly what I expected. We both picked two different guys, but we knew that Merab was going to change the fight. It was when. And I said around 4. He said around 3. 3, 4, 5. I said, I think Nurmagomedov is really tight at the end. He's trying to hold on. Merab's winning rounds. Merab runs out of time. I had it 3 rounds to 2 for Umar. So, yeah, I was wrong, but I feel like I wasn't wrong. Like, the fight went down how I said it was going to happen, That said, even though I knew it was going to happen or I predicted that that's how the fight was going to go, I was still blown away when I actually watched this happen from both guys, really, from the skill level of both guys. But Merab's pace should be Merab's cardio should he should be taken out of MMA, like put into like a scientific museum.
Yeah.
Like
fucking studied.
Captain America type shit and try to get his DNA and put it in and make a superhuman soldier and stuff. His cardio is unfreaking believable.
And you know what? gonna jump right to the end of the fight really quickly, because in the post fight, Merab was telling Joe, I got all these injuries, and you could tell the truck was in Joe's ear, like, hey, change the subject quick because we don't want people thinking we're making these dudes fight with all these effing injuries. But Merab had that issue with his shin where it looked like he had staph infection. The corner was the desk was talking about how they kind of got the cut to heal. A big part of Merab's game, like if you watch the Petrian fight, is his low kicks, and he didn't really go to them a ton in this fight. Even like a beat up injured Merab, still, like, he wasn't 100%. He's incredible.
The machine thing like fits him.
It's fucking real.
Like when I was, it was cool. I wasn't there live. I'm sure it was even cooler live, but they kept showing like Jumbotron, and they were showing from the sky, and you can see what was going on. And when you're live at an event, especially a big fight, there is a different feel. Like the last one I attended was Jones Stipe, but I always think about when Izzy and Alex fought each other the first time in MMA, and their entrances had me like. I always get excited for fights. I mean,
sure.
But that one got me like, I could feel, I got the goosebumps. I was like, oh, this is fucking nuts.
The anxiety, the sweating.
Yeah, I'm sure those Jumbotron things add it, but Merab's Jumbotron was like perfect with the freaking machine thing moving and like the gears moving and shit. And I don't want to like look past Umar. I thought Umar was great. There was things he was doing. I mean, when he was catching Merab early, when he was attacking, but then he would switch stances, so now things would come at a different angle. And he was hurting him. He'd come in with like a step knee. He'd come in step knee and then right into like switching his stance and right hook on the other side or straight left from the other side. And I was like, damn, man, he lost, but his striking early was on point. And then the different exchanges, they fought so differently, but somehow they both. I'm watching these guys meet and have an exchange, and somehow both of them I don't know who won that exchange. It was such a good exchange. Merab would get in the pocket, he'd throw one or two punches, and they were bombs.
I didn't think Merab would be the harder puncher in this fight, but no, Merab was definitely the harder puncher in this fight.
And then Umar would respond to those two bombs with like a 6-punch combination, and it was just crazy hand speed. Like clean, just fast, like
clean down the pike, like really clean crosses. I really like what Merab was doing, where he would initiate the wrestling and then just kind of crush him with two big hooks on the break. Like you could definitely tell that they practice a lot of striking on the breaks. Like they knew they weren't going to get the takedowns, but like just get the overhook and just like fucking boom, boom, club him twice with two hockey punches.
Yeah, he was looking for takedowns, not even trying to get it. Just get him work. And it's
just put a hand on him.
What is amazing? I've always talked about builders. I think of guys like Max Holloway, and it's more. It's not that their cardio gets better, but it's more they get their rhythm and their pace, and they start landing. It's easier for them to land because the other guy's
confidence starts going up.
Sure, yeah. Merab it's like his takedown attempts was going from like 3 at a round to at the end he's shooting 15 freaking times in the round, and it was just like how he's able to do that. It would be like he's like a guy that he like do an Ironman and then like end it by like, and now I'm gonna put on a rucksack and run up Mount Everest. It's like, how is it humanly possible to be shooting 15 times in the third? You know, I know I'm just throwing out a number. I don't know how many times he shot, but you get my point. It was way more than he was shooting in the first.
He's like the only dude I've ever seen that he's just like a battering ram where like he's just gonna cause chaos and keep running into you and like until parts are just flying off of you. And like for him, he just holds it together. His composure through this fight, he was like smiling and happy even when Umar had his back. Like everybody going into this fight was like, Merab doesn't want this, he's scared of Umar. And I'm like, have you guys seen his record? I don't think this motherfucker's scared of anybody. Like,
it's the whole scared thing is so stupid. Like me and Ben talked about this at length many times. Like the highest guys aren't scared. Like no. The whole John Jones scared of Tom Aspinall. Like John Jones is not scared of Tom Aspinall. John Jones is not scared of anybody.
It's calculated risk.
Yeah, it's calculated. It's calculated risk.
Calculated risk.
There's a reason why in the NFL the 1 seed plays this, 6 seed, the lower seed.
Yeah.
even though they didn't work out today in the NFL. But
Yeah.
it's funny because Merab was shooting so much, and I think what'll be really overshadowed because everyone's talking about how amazing Merab's pace was. But how about Umar's takedown defense? Many times he kept butt dragging. And I know some people might not know what I'm talking about when it's a very kind of like techie, high level like wrestling things, but it's like he kept butt dragging him through and kind of using Merab's momentum in the takedown to turn the corner, hit the hip, and Merab was kind of getting in this what they call the crackdown position, and I was just like, dude, this is awesome. And then when Merab, I think it might have been Merab's very first shot or one of the early shots when Umar got the takedown, Merab initiated the shot. And Umar faked one way, then I think he V blocked, which I know a lot of people don't know. He fakes like circling, trying to get behind him, like kind of like they call spinners, pass bys, whatever you want to call it. He's like spin behind him, and then he goes back the other direction. He V blocks, which blocks the hand to wing up and take his back. And I was like, that was so freaking unbelievably fast.
He's such a. I mean, they're both athletes in their own way. Umar is such a like fast twitch athlete, and he's such a good decision maker. His leg dexterity, like Merab has got a single leg, and he's got this dude's leg jacked like 5 feet in the air. Yeah. And Umar is just like bouncing on one leg, sprawling with one leg, like his hip and leg dexterity.
It's stuff you see in D1, high level D1 wrestling. Like it's incredible.
Also, too, Umar's lead kick out of the southpaw, like he can throw a question mark kick like a check hook, from like boxing range, and I've like never seen that shit before, where he's like, like pull back, like he'll slip and rip with a lead question mark kick to the face, like what the like you just don't like you don't see that often, like you don't see that at all.
He's unbelievable. And the pace got to him, and his body started failing him at the end. But even when he was getting taken down early and he was popping right back to his feet, to have that mentality to be able to I missed the butt drag to continue to scramble and get back to his feet. I was so impressed. And like, he lost his first fight, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, oh, he wasn't that good. They're going to follow the whole Merab thing. He shouldn't deserve a title shot anyway. He's only beat one ranked guy. You know what they're going to say, but. If you don't think Umar is going to hold the UFC title one day, and I shouldn't say it, that's a very hard accomplishment, but
he'll fight for it again.
Oh, he'll fight for it again. Oh, and he could totally I could see Merab and Umar fighting 1 year from now, and Umar still being the favorite.
Yep.
because
he like knocks out Sean O'Malley or something, or like submits Petrion in the second round or something weird,
And I know I've talked about this going back to Merab. I've talked about this at length. I've said it for a long time. Like, I think the best base in MMA is wrestling, and that's not really going on a limb. But the best asset is not wrestling. It is cardio pace and pressure, and it's kind of thing I've been on a kick for 3-4 years, maybe 5 years now, that I'm just like, if you have that pressure, it's why Belal Muhammad's so good. Like, Belal Muhammad is not this great, spectacular wrestler. He just puts on a pace. And Merab is the same way. He's good. Like, don't get me wrong, he's obviously a very good wrestler, but it's this unbelievable pressure that just physically breaks people. It's so impressive.
If you've got incredible cardio and you can match that with really good game planning, you don't have to be the best at anything. Like, tit for tat, skillfully, Umar is a more skillful martial artist than Merab. But none of that, clearly it didn't matter. And there's guys that have different forms of this cardio mixed with game planning. You can look at, Max Holloway. He's another dude with incredible cardio and incredible game plan. And Belal Muhammad, another dude with incredible cardio and incredible game planning. And you match those two things together. It's got to be such an asset for Merab too, to have Aljamain Sterling as his number one training partner.
I like what John said. I might just slightly disagree with what he's saying, but he said, Keith, my basic interpretation is that Merab out Nurmagomedov Umar. Is that fair? I think a general idea like him winning the wrestling exchanges. Nurmagomedov to me would have been if he controlled more on the ground and suffocated him with control and kind of like sucked the life out of him that way.
Tied up his legs, ground and pounded him on the head.
But I think the general idea though is there. Like I think the general like, he and what to feed off of what John said, there was a part in like the fourth round where Umar was near the cage and Merab was kind of putting on him, and you could see his team behind, right behind Umar, and it was something I saw that I've never seen. You could see like panic, like Khabib had a panic look on his face and frustration, and you never see that from the Dagestanis. Ever. Like that's what Merab was able to do. Like not just, and then you saw when Usman went back to fifth, it's 2-2. He wins the fifth. He's the world champion, and he sat on his stool. He looked so defeated.
Yeah.
He looked like someone super sick sitting in like a waiting room of a hospital or something. Like he looked done. And yes, he had a pretty good fifth round too, even though he ended up losing. He still had it, which is pretty crazy. He had a good fifth round, but he's been undefeated his whole career. Yeah. You know, this wasn't like the Beksa Almakhan fight where he like got clipped and then was able to recover and then like absolutely dominated. Like this was a moment where he was like, I can't get rid of this dude, and he's smiling and happy. Like this is kind of weird. He never experienced it before.
No,
which is I'm sure he's felt it in the gym or going against these guys getting held down in frustration. But some of his own sides, this fight. I watch so much MMA. I don't know the next time I get to watch this one, but when we do tape study on somebody else and I get to pull this one up, it'll be a joy. I freaking love it. This was such a great fight, and I'm glad that the commentators made it out. Let's matchmake Umar first, because I'll tell you why. The chat is going to absolutely hate my matchmaking for Merab. So let's
I think you and I have the same person for Merab.
I don't. I would very doubt it. But okay, let's go with Umar. I was kind of going through and I was like looking at the usual suspects, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give him the winner of. He needs a bounce back fight, but obviously not too far down. Fight night main event, or maybe like pay-per-view, third from the top of a pay-per-view. I want the winner of Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong.
I like it. I actually think it should be for 5 rounds. So make it a fight night main event, or even like a 5-round co-main event, because especially if it's Henry Cejudo.
I kind of put that like third from the top of pay-per-view as like the same level as a fight night main event. So
I only want him to fight 5 rounds because if I like Umar as a prospect, and I would love to see him get another 5-round fight just under his belt, just to go through a 5-round fight training camp. I think that's best for his career. I think he should fight Petrian.
Okay, that's what I think. A lot of people are going to go. My one issue with that, and I'll tell you why. Merab is wiping out the division. I mean, he's coming back around because remember he doesn't have that lot of title defenses, but because Aljamain Sterling was a champion, they wouldn't fight each other. He was picking off everybody for Aljamain. He fought so many fights before the title shot. He's now kind of like doing a lap 2 to that. Like I don't want the contenders knocking each other out, but. Let's hear who you would give the title shot tomorrow, because you're not gonna like who I'm giving the title shot to.
I feel like I've been a super casual on here, even though I'm pretty far from that. But Merab's beat the shit out of everyone in this division. Like, I don't think I need to see him fight Song Yadong right now if Song Yadong figures out how to beat Henry Cejudo. But there's a dude that used to drive for Uber, and he's also a UFC champion. he's just at 125. And both of these dudes, in my opinion, have kind of cleaned out their divisions.
You're loving the.
I know it. Maybe because it's January, maybe because it's the first pay-per-view of the year.
He has cleaned out the division. That is a good argument.
But give me fucking Pantoja and Merab at 135.
Okay.
I think that's a great fight.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it because one, and you know how big a fan I am, Merab, but I've been like the guy for Pantoja. I picked Pantoja over Moreno when he won. I've been a Pantoja freaking guy.
I love Pantoja.
I love that dude. I'm okay with that. Like if he's cleaned out the division, he's been the man forever. That flyweight is always like the kind of
super convoluted and weird.
Yeah, because it's a little shallow division. Just naturally, you know, the two extreme. It's hard for grown men to be 125 pounds. It's just not, you know, it's hard for high schoolers to be that. Never mind grown man. I'm okay with that. My issue with Merab, and again, I did actually think about Pantoja moving up, but I didn't do that. My thing about Merab is, like you said, he's fought everybody. There's one guy, so like Peter is the guy that he's kind of mentioned. He seems like he wants to fight. Like I just saw that fight. Like, you know, Jose Aldo, he just beat Sean O'Malley. That's probably who the UFC is doing. The UFC is probably doing Sean O'Malley. I just seen that fight. A lot of people are going to be calling for the rematch. I think Umar should get some more time to add some more skills, and I think it'd be a bigger fight a year from now. You know, year and a half from now. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, who hasn't even? I'm going down the list, and I look and I see one name, Corey Sandhagen. But then I said, Sandhagen's coming off a loss. Like, I don't think he deserves it. I'm like, I want someone on a winning streak. You ready for everyone to hate me? There comes times when guys are dominant champions that just the guy that nobody wants gets a title shot, and like Talis Leites fights Anderson Silva, and it's just like, it's fucking time.
Sure.
I'm giving a guy who's on a 7-fight winning streak.
No.
I'm giving it to Mario Batista. I'm going Batista. I'm giving Mario Batista. Sometimes you just got to give a guy a shot.
His last fight
was terrible. His last fight was terrible.
So you want what he did to Aldo to happen to him.
But he's not going to be able to do that to Merab. There's no way he'll be able to do that to Merab.
So you want Merab to do to him what he did to Aldo?
Just sometimes the guys win. You got to get that shot. I'm giving it to Mario Batista. I'm telling you right now, there's 7 billion. I should have built this up better. There's 7 billion people in the world. I am one of 7 billion who saying that Mario Batista should get that. But, you know, maybe 2. Maybe Mario Batista is saying it, but that's it. Nobody else is saying it. His mom's not saying it. His dad's not saying it. But I'm like, when you've beaten everybody, it was either him or Marcus McGee. That was my 2 options.
I think Pantoja is a better.
Obviously Pantoja like a bunch, but I'll keep in the division. I'm giving it to Mario Batista.
Shit.
Is anybody? I challenge people out there because you know there's a bunch of imitators that do this show. I call them. They'll say there'll be tons of articles written this week. Oh, who should they? You know, every major website will do it. Find one person other than me that says Mario Batista in any of them. I challenge everybody. Mario Batista.
This is right next to your Jocelyn Edwards pick in our.
I'm winning that fantasy one right now. I don't know if that's true.
I'm winning. No one to fact check him. He's in the league.
All right. So
is Merab the best bantamweight ever?
I don't know. I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to do that. He doesn't have the problem is he has one title defense. The problem, the argument now. Here's the argument. The argument is that that's one of the divisions that no one has had a long run because
his winning streaks.
Dominic Cruz got hurt too much, and
his streak's so good.
He might be. It's either him or Dominic Cruz, or I was saying Sterling has an argument, but now I'll tell you something right now. If you want to go full WWE. Aljamain Sterling coming down to challenge his teammate, his fucking neighbor at 135. That's the matchup right there.
And then we'll do Khabib versus Islam
for
the main event.
Absolutely.
UFC 400.
Yeah, I went talking about that dream fight of Tom Aspinall and John Jones. No, give me Khabib versus Islam when he gets custody of Asbullah. All right. Third from the top. One of the fights that everyone said guaranteed action, guaranteed knockout, guaranteed slugfest. And that's what we got. Jiri Prochazka took on Jamal Hill. Jiri Prochazka, former champion. Jiri Prochazka took on former champion Jamal Hill, winning by third round TKO. You know what I loved about this? And I don't think it was kind of talked about enough. And I know Alex Pajeda kind of ruined that. But at one time, this was the matchup of the two top guys that were supposed to fight each other. Because remember, Jiri was a champion. He vacated champion because he got hurt. Jamal Hill wins a vacant title of Jiri's.
Yep.
And
over
then,
Glover.
Yeah, over Glover. They were supposed to fight each other. They kind of like put these two guys together. It didn't happen. So it was kind of like I don't know. Like, this could have been the title fight two years ago. But tell me if you agree or disagree. I feel like Jamal Hill gave Jiri Prochazka the exact fight Jiri Prochazka needed to win. And what I mean by that is he fought high pace, which I feel like helps Jiri, where you swing for the fences. Totally. He was headhunting Jiri, which was a bad idea. Because Jiri was just trying to slip and counter, one punch kind of knockout. That's what he does. And I'm sitting there and I picked Jiri, and I was I was rooting for him a little, even though I don't really root for guys. I root for the funnest thing, but he's fun to root for.
Oh,
but I'm sitting there and I'm like, does Jamal Hill realize that anytime he wasn't headhunting, he was winning everything else? If he grabbed the clinch, he throws him a knee, hurting him. He hurt him to the body with a knee. He would knee him in the head a couple times in the clinch. He threw one or two body punches. He hurt him both.
His crosses to the body.
Everything he did except for overthrow, trying to get a knockout to the head, he was winning.
Here's the thing, though, is I don't think Jamal Hill knows how to do anything else besides what he did in there today. It's like one of those things where, like, yeah, you did some of the stuff right, but the stuff you did wrong really got you into a lot of trouble. I just, I never thought Jamal Hill was that awesome. And I think, I think Jiri Prochazka could have this exact fight with like everyone in the top 10, like this was just the epitome of a Jiri Prochazka fight.
Yeah.
And I was never personally super convinced on Jamal Hill, like beating up old Glover on short notice after he got beat, went to war with Jiri in that fight. And Jamal Hill looked good in moments, but he kind of came out looking like Unk with the beer belly and then the two knee pads. Like,
I know that's always a slam. Yeah, the knee pads. That's always
with the belly, like.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't, and I understand. And I feel like you're so good. This is going to sound so crazy because it's usually this generation's better than past generations. It's just how it is. Like, I feel like Jiri is at the right time of MMA, even though Alex Pajeda is in his career. You put Jiri 15 years ago, he would have had a hard time because I think Randy Couture wrestles the fuck out of him. I think Daniel Cormier would have picked him up and slammed him on his head.
I think Rumble Johnson would have knocked him out dead.
Oh, maybe. I don't understand why people don't try wrestling this guy. Like, Glover Teixeira had so much success wrestling this guy. And
Glover Teixeira is built different. He's a really good wrestler.
Yeah. But I mean, like, and I'm not saying
I agree, though.
Hill could do it. I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that he has so much success because he's so much fun. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm a Jiri fan. Like, how could you not be?
He looked good in this fight. Like, his pull counters look good.
Yeah, he did.
Like,
he did.
His head movement looked good. His clearly working on keeping his hands up. That's just never going to happen. Even though even after the fight, he thought he did it more. But like, he was also killing Jamal with like his slip and rip counters. And I saw them. I don't know if you saw the little post on social media, but they like went and greeted each other after the fight. Jamal's eye is like swollen shut. Like, he's like hella lumped up. And Jiri took so many shots and he's still like a slight bloody nose. Like,
yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to a former Sherdog staff writer, Lev Pilarski, who he pointed this out to me once, and he was dead on, and I didn't give him enough credit at the time, but he ranked the best knockout artist ever as Jiri Prochazka. I think that's a little too high, but I was like, dude, I wouldn't put him in my top 10. And then you look at the amount of knockouts he has, and I'm like, this guy's a top 5 knockout artist ever.
Yeah.
He's got 26 knockouts. It's kind of crazy. He's got to be top 5. You got to put him in top 5 in base knockout artists.
Yeah, and he's like the most successful live by the sword, die by the sword fighter ever.
Yeah.
Like, no one is, he's at a championship level playing take one to give one.
Yeah. Like this, not many people couldn't do that.
He's playing power slap in MMA.
Yeah, he's like Matt Frivola, but like really high level.
Yep.
Yeah, like stand in the pocket, throw it out, and see who's still standing.
His vision was good in this fight. Like, he was getting out of he still got caught with shots, but he was getting out of the way. This was just like this. If you had to, write a script for a Jiri Prochazka fight, like this was it. Like, hurts him really bad in the first round, and then Jamal Hill, he kind of cleans things up a little bit and wins the second round, and then Jiri's like, yeah, fuck this, and then just goes out there and like, sparks him with this weird switching stance combo, and then like finishes him with a hook and follows him to the ground. This was just the epitome of a Jiri Prochazka fight.
Yeah.
He's just like an incredible dude. I love it.
Let me ask you this: though, was it good for the UFC? Now he's has a bigger fan base than Jamal Hill, but what I would say is fan base doesn't matter; it's reaction. For the same amount of positive reaction Jiri gets, Jamal gets a negative reaction, and they're both great. If I'm running an organization, but Jiri's 0-2 against Alex Pereira. There is still, like, if Jamal Hill won by knockout tonight, you could still make the argument for Hill. He could still use that like terrible excuse about blocking the referee, pushing him back thing. Like, he could make that argument. Jiri's in a tough because he's already faced Alex Pereira. I mean, it was announced today Pereira's fate in Ankalaev. Ankalaev wins, that kind of solves all the problems for Jiri, but that's a big if.
I think it's still good for the UFC because even if Jiri Prochazka can never beat Alex Pereira in a fight, like when Jiri Prochazka is winning fights and giving the UFC viral moments, he's a dude that can always be on a co-main event on a pay-per-view, or he's a dude that can always be a main event on a fight night. He seems to he's got like almost a Charles Oliveira type fan base, like a cult following. You heard the crowd's reactions to Jamal Hill, and he seems to be just unliked in general. I mean, in the short time, Jamal Hill winning might be better, but how long is Alex even going to be around for? Like, I could see Jiri sticking around for 5 more years. I don't think Alex is going to be here after 1.
Well, if Alex sticks around for 5 more years, he'll have 52 fights in the UFC or something. Because the guy's the man. The guy's like, oh, I'm gonna take some time off. 3 months later, he's fighting again. No, I'm gonna take time off. 2 months later, he's fighting again. I think it's good. I mean, I think of Jiri, like, it's unlikely he's gonna win the title, but we've seen people who can get like the title back, or
Max Holloway fought Volk 3 times.
Yeah, that's a good example. I not obviously way different people and different styles, but like I think about like Carlos Esparza. Like, she was someone who no one expected to win. She'd be knocking off contenders and be like, what good is that? We've already seen her fight for the title, and she won the title, she's lost, and then just right place, right time, things change, people change the vision, someone loses, and all of a sudden now you're the number 1 contender and you're fighting for the title and you win. So that might be the best case for kind of Jiri moving forward. And MMA fans love hating on Jamal Hill, and that's what they get. So the hard thing,
probably getting cooked right now.
The hard thing with Jiri is matchmaking him. So give me a fight.
It is tough to matchmake this dude. Jan Blachowicz is fighting Carlos Olberg. He can fight the winner of that fight.
Yeah, that's the exact fight I had. All right, Jamal Hill. He was supposed to fight Cleo Rountree. I know they're like buddies and everything, but whatever. I'd have them two fight each other. They were supposed to fight each other.
Or Dominic Reyes.
there you go. The return, the re-rise of Dominic Reyes, the resurgence of Dominic Reyes.
Hey,
This fight, I think, it had some pretty high stakes, but I think we actually cover it pretty quick. Jelton Almeida took on Sergey Spivac. Almeida winning by first round TKO. A really fun fight as it happened for a mostly ground battle up until the very end of the fight. I'm very impressed with Jelton Almeida's sweep game against Spivac.
that butterfly sweep he hit.
Yeah, a lot of people, you go back this time, I don't know, a little over a year ago, Almeida was the buzz of the division. He had more buzz than like Tom Aspinall did at one point, maybe a year and a half or something. Can you still view this guy as a possible UFC champion?
At heavyweight, totally. I've always been hyped on Jelton Almeida. He first off, he was the guy coming up from 205, and even though I think they only weighed a pound difference, like he looked significantly larger and stronger than Spivac. Spivac did exactly what he does to win fights, and he had the fight going his way, and Jelton Almeida still was able to reverse position, have his own control and dominance on the ground, F him up on the feet, and then follow him to the ground, finish him on the ground. Yeah, I mean, totally. Could he go out there and beat Cyril Gane? Probably. Could he beat John Jones? Probably not. Could he beat Tom Aspinall? Probably not. But could he, could he get himself into a fight with Tom Aspinall for an interim belt? Probably.
Yeah.
So it's heavyweight.
Yeah, I talked about the preview. We were talking about actually it was last week's recap. We were talking about people winning a title or something like that, and we were talking about Kopylov, like what, and I'd say, well, what's the likelihood? And I compared it to like basketball, and I feel like I wouldn't pick him to win a UFC title. I still think he has some glaring holes. I'm still not a fan of like BJJ based guys. At heavyweight's a little different. Like really, it's just a different division.
Sure.
But he did hurt Spivac on the feet. I think it has more to do with Spivac than it has with Almeida. But I'd put it as like give me a basketball and let me shoot a three. Like I'm probably not getting the 3-pointer, but it's not out of the realm of possibility of me hitting a 3-pointer either. Like sometimes you just get lucky and it lines up perfect. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
he could get the shot at a title. Totally. I totally think he could, beat the rest of the guys to get, could he go out there and sub Volkov? Probably. I don't see why not. Could he go out there? I could totally see him winning a title eliminator and then getting an opportunity. But the guys at the top, I don't think he's.
Yeah. So who was it? Someone said that they think he would beat John Jones. I think John Jones is a terrible stylistic matchup for him. And I'm the guy arguing that John Jones isn't a top pound fighter anymore, but which is kind of crazy because he beats everybody. But Spivac, to me, Spivac's still the same mission until he's able to. He's a poor athlete, which a lot of people think some people say he needs to move down to 205. I disagree because I don't think he's a good enough athlete at 205. But the bigger issue is his striking is bad. He's slow, and I mean he got tagged with a short right, and the fight was over.
I think it's his striking durability mixed with like just fear. Like I don't think he likes I don't think he likes to strike with people, and I definitely don't think he likes getting pressed backward. He seems to be one of those dudes that gets hit by something, and he how Dustin Poirier can get cracked, circle out, and recoup and stay focused. Spivac's the exact opposite.
Yeah,
like he gets hit with something, and he's like, "This sucks. I'm out."
Yeah, when his MMA career is over, he's probably not doing bare knuckle boxing or slap fighting.
No,
let's matchmake these guys. I mean, Almeida's been calling for a fight with Cyril Gane. I feel like that's a no-brainer. Like, fight night main event, put it somewhere, put it in an arena somewhere, probably Europe or Brazil or something like that. Spivac, I'm taking a step down. Give me Marcos Ajira de Lima.
Perfect.
You have nobody else?
No.
All right, and the first fight on the main card, Kevin Holland took on Renato Dorita, won by first round sub. Dorita looked way better than he did look like against Jared Mershot, even though Mershot has a very tough style to look good at, but also like a lower level guy than Kevin Holland. If that makes sense. Like he's like it's just a better stylistic matchup, I'd say. But man, Dorita ran right through Kevin Holland. Looked fantastic. We'll talk about Kevin Holland because I know you kind of took a strong stance on Kevin Holland. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's talk about RDR for a second. Like, how far do you think? I mean, this guy obviously was extremely successful in one championship. He won 2 titles and 2 different weight classes.
You almost said RDA, and I would rather talk about RDA than Kevin Holland. No, RDR can. If this dude F's around and figures out how to get into a fight with Dricus du Plessis, it'll be the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, he could win.
It would be so. Maybe I don't know. RDR.
You know how I feel about Dricus du Plessis. He's good at winning, but he's still like very flawed.
Yeah, good at winning, bad at fighting. And RDR is kind of like the same way in his own weird wonky. He's the perfect middleweight. He has like a weird janky game with great grappling, really interesting takedowns. The takedown that he got on Holland. This win holds no weight for me whatsoever. I just don't think Kevin Holland cares about being an MMA fighter anymore. So this is literally.
Do you think let me change. Do you think he'll be successful in the higher level of the UFC? Because I'm not a Dorita believer.
He's gonna have a problem when he gets booked up against someone that cares about fighting, like Jack Hermanson.
Jack Hermanson would be a very tough stylist. I mean, he's a lot bigger than Hermanson. Hermanson's a smaller middleweight, but yeah, like Dolidze would be an issue.
Guys
these aren't top guys in the division.
No. Even like Paulo Costa may be a problem for him.
Yeah, we've seen guys who have a game plan, stick to a game plan, and beat. I mean, I always think of like Jake Shield. I know this a long time ago. Like Jake Shield was not a good athlete. He wasn't the best wrestler. He wasn't just a guy, but he had a game plan and he'd find a way to implement it. And we've seen it happen if you just stick to a game plan. So maybe that kind of thing happens. And I'll eat crow. I'm still not a believer. Let's look over at Holland real quick. You said, I think on Twitter, you tweeted that you're giving up on Holland and that he doesn't like MMA. He doesn't care about winning. I'm with you, man.
He's done.
If he fights anybody that can wrestle at all and is bigger than him, I'm not taking him.
There's a reason why he's not cutting to welterweight, and he's over here just, fighting with Rampage Jackson on a podcast, making rap songs.
What was that?
Like, he's just a shithead. Sorry, I hate to say that. I just don't think he cares about fighting, and he's used this opportunity to make a big name for himself.
But he'd rather like fight people in like the streets and shit. Like he likes to like fight people in the back and be tough.
It's kind of like,
I don't know. I don't get
with
it.
less success becoming the Ryan Garcia of MMA. Like it's just like he's like weird, doing weird stuff. But there's a reason why he
sucks right now. He's lost a shitload. He lost something like 4 of his last 5 or something like that.
And he keeps getting these main card spots. Like there's. He just, I'm checked out.
He does have charisma. People still like him. Like he was talking to Frank Trigg today, and
that can only get you.
He definitely should be. He definitely should be fighting at 170. But anybody who's like saying like, yeah, I don't want to live that lifestyle. Like I don't want to eat salads and drink protein shakes. And when you're a professional, I mean, think about what he does compared to Merab. Like what Merab, you talk about the way Merab cuts weight and how dedicated and hardcore he is, and these guys are on the same card in the same profession and doing the same business. You're
making me pay X amount of dollars to watch them, but like, I listened to an interview yesterday, and it was Khabib talking about his preparation for the Conor fight, and he said he trained every single day, 2-a-days for 1 whole year. That's how serious he took the Conor McGregor fight.
Yeah, and that's what he done.
And then you got Kevin Holland. you know, and you don't need to do 2-a-days for a year.
Yeah.
But you need to do 2-a-days for a week.
Yeah, he's probably never done 2 days in his life. And the sad thing is, he does have skills.
Yeah, he's a Travis Lutter black belt. He's good.
Yeah, I mean, you saw him on the ground like today. Like he had moments where he was like moving his hips and his striking. He's got skills. I always said he's got underrated power. He's got very good athleticism. Like he's got a good actually. Like I mean, it didn't happen today, but like we saw him like have like moments of scrambles and fights.
He's gotten worse.
I feel like he's wasted his potential at just being like a freaking guy who doesn't take it serious. I mean, you can have that in every sport though. He's you know what he is? I know you won't get this reference because you're not a football fan, but he's like the John. He's got a little Johnny Manziel in him, not in the sense that he's like banging prostitutes the night before, which he probably is, but that's what I mean. He's got like he just wasted potential. Some people will get that what I'm saying.
He's just, you know, when I watch him fight and I watch his preparation, I see him on social media. I see the way he carries himself. Like if I couldn't, neither one of us could put in that effort at our job. We would lose our jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I put in the Kevin Holland effort at my job, I'd get fired.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's won't take that from you. They'd get rid of you.
It's kind of it's hard for me to watch. It's hard for me to watch him, especially like, you know, when you got hardworking guys on the card and you've got people on the undercard. Just he needs to be put back on the
guys want us to move on. They're already talking about the next fight. So.
Yeah. All right. Get us to my Kevin Holland.
Real quick. Kevin Holland to me, no more like ranked guys anymore. Like,
no.
Give me Eric Anders on bury him on the fight night prelims. Like not even on the main card. I want him on the prelims. RDA. I keep on RDA. Sorry, just natural RDR. I came up with Jared Cannonier, Gregor Rodriguez winner.
I like it. I put down Marvin Vettori, Roman Dolidze, Paulo Costa.
Okay, good enough. The big upset of the night. There was a couple upsets, but the biggest one betting wise, super uber prospect Peyton Talbot took on Hani Barcelos. Barcelos winning by unanimous decision. I really wanted to take Barcelos. I said it. I wimped out. Barcelos is both me and Ben's guy. I said this is a huge test. Like that Peyton Talbot, he has a reckless style. He just comes forward, and I can't remember who. Someone I've been talking to a lot of people. Someone tweeted me. I want to find. He's such a good dude. He's listening to the show. I apologize. Who was it? Somebody messaged me on Twitter asking me right before this fight, like, could Talbot lose? And I said, yeah, he can walk right into takedowns. Oh, John D. Aizi. I apologize if I'm saying the last name wrong. And we both went kind of back and forth talking about the fight. And one thing I talked about, like, yeah, like I expect Barcelos to win the first round and get takedowns. I thought the cardio of Talbot would kind of save him at the end, and to a sense, it was doing it. But Barcelos is a dog, man.
I was really happy watching this fight unfold. Okay. Not happy, but just smiling because I love to see the old dog. You know, old dog, old tricks. He didn't need to add anything to his game. He went out there and Hani Barcelos is a good wrestler, man. Good grappler.
Really good. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people on Twitter. Like, I understand what you're saying, and I kind of felt the same boat. Like, I was happy for Barcelos. I wasn't like happy to see Talbot lose. Like, I am not one of these guys when there's an uber prospect that hates on prospect. Like, there's some people who gets like a lot of buzz right away, and instantly people on Twitter love
to watch them lose.
Yeah, I'm not one of those.
Revel in their defeat. I'm not reveling in Talbot's defeat. I'm happy with Barcelos.
Yeah, I agree. I know you were saying that. That's how I felt too. Like, I'm happy that Barcelos got this moment. I wouldn't give up on Talbot. To me, there was still a lot of really good things that he was able to do. I mean, he's still very young. He's got some sharp hands. I liked his teep kicks that he was adding. Obviously, insane cardio. I mean, like, he wasn't tired. He was still coming hard. Third round. So I think there's still a lot of things I like in him, and sometimes a loss kind of opens your eyes to things you're doing wrong that he can clean up. One concern I have though is his like fight IQ. There was a moment in the third when he was on top and Honey Basil's grabbed the cage and Herb Dean's like, "Do you want him up or down?" And he's like, "I want to stay down."
Goes back.
Huh? What'd you say?
You know, he goes back to the ground, back into Honey Barcelo's guard.
Yeah, you're losing 2 rounds. You need a stoppage. He's tired. You're having success early in that round with punches. Land a couple hard upcuts. Like, you need to knock him out. Get him on the feet and go, dude. Like that didn't make sense to me.
Yep.
The only thing I can think of, unless he thought it was 1 each. If he thought it was 1 each and okay, I stay on top, I win. Which maybe that was the case, but
which would have been still kind of low IQ.
IQ, yeah, like you don't really know what's going on. So, what? I mean, are you completely? Were you on the train at all? You completely jumping off? Look,
I was really impressed by his win over Cameron Simon. I was like, wow, he kind of went out there and just like shit when Talbot kind of shit kicked Simon. I was like, that's incredible. But this was a very eye-opening. His biggest problem is that he's at bantamweight.
Yeah, it's a wicked tough division.
That's his biggest problem. Is he's got a big name, he's got a loss now, and he's at bantamweight, and he can't wrestle. Defensively.
He did hit a nice let throw, but yes.
When he gets stuck on his back, you know.
Yeah.
And Hani's a good wrestler, but
sure. It's not Merab. It's not Umar.
Yep. If anybody thought he was going to be marching towards a title a la Sean O'Malley, I think we might need to pump our brakes on that. Yeah. But I think that's going to be most beneficial for him. He needs to go back to the drawing board. He can have fun fights and beat some dudes in some striking, you know. Maybe he gets another Giannis Gamori as a kind of layup, a soft touch off of this.
And even not the wrestlers. There's some sharpshooters striking based on this guy's reckless style. Like he's even striking.
Hani was catching them clean.
Yeah. I think O'Malley puts him out.
Yep.
I'm not
Song Yadong would too.
Yeah, I'm not. I think Peter Young would. I'm not saying that he couldn't beat those guys 3 years from now, but the guy right now, and I was saying this before. I mean, I said those exact words in the tweet before the fight happened. Again, I'm not like pumping my chest. I didn't pick him. I picked him to win. So, but I did say that the line was absurd. But this was a huge step up in competition for Hani Basos, and I think his next fight should be like what you said. Like, I want him fighting low level UFC. Like, give me him fighting like a guy coming off the Contender Series, but not like, oh, this is a real good prospect. Just like that, like guy had a good showing. Okay, but we don't expect much from him. That's who I'd have him fight next. I'd have him fight a couple of those, like the next 2 or 3 fights.
Like Ricky Tercios or
guys he's gonna clown
on. Brady Highstand was kind of saying some stuff about him on social media.
I might stay away from Brady.
Brady's
a tough stylistic matchup for him.
And he can he wrestles.
I'm talking lower. I'm talking low level guys, dude. I'm talking bottom of the barrel of the division. Like that's who I
give him Giannis Gamori again.
Yeah, like that level of guy, that level of guy. All right, let's breeze through some of these rest of the prelims. We had a change of opponent. Cedricus Dumas was out, so Zach Reese took on UFC newcomer Asmat. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Bekayev. With Bekayev winning by first round TKO. I love this guy's story. I love the story that the UFC didn't want to sign him because they didn't get enough stoppages. So he got a stoppage, and then he started like camping out outside the UFC's headquarters, trying to catch Dana or one of the matchmakers coming out. I forget which matchmaker they said he tracked down. I think it might have been Sean Shelby, and showed him, I got a stoppage. I did what he said. I'm ready, and they're like, all right, dude. Maybe it's McMahon. I don't know. Next time there's an open year end, and then he was in. So cool story.
And he got another stoppage.
Yeah, I mean, Reese, to his credit, Reese was doing well on his back, as good as you can do on your back. Like, he was landing some good shots from underneath. But again, just pure gravity's sake, you know. not a game to play.
I was like logging into Twitter to tweet out, I really like Zachary Reese's activity off of his back. And then like 5 seconds later, he is like outlined in chalk. And like one eye is looking this way and the other one's looking this way, and you can only see the whites of his eyes. You know what's bad when you only see the whites of his eyes, but they're both wide open.
Yeah, not a good night for him.
That was actually. When was the last time you seen a dude get like put to sleep with ground and pound like that? Like it's been quite a while.
Yeah, not often. It doesn't happen often. I always feel bad for guys when they have a change of opponent and the opponent becomes a much harder tougher stylist matchup. I always feel like if your opponent drops out, like
you get a layup.
Yeah, like the guy coming in to face you should be an easier style. Like you don't go from being the betting favorite to the betting underdog. Like no, you become if you're like a negative 150 favorite, you need to become a negative 300 favorite. Like you should. So
I agree 1000%. You know you're going to be in a bad way when like you get a short notice opponent and you're the underdog. It's like, oh, they don't care about me.
Speaking of short notice, the other replacing Johnny Walker, Bogdan Guskov welcomed Billy Elkakania. I apologize again. Winning by second round submission. Elkakania, it was just like low level prospect. I mean, I watched his regional scene, nothing really that impressive. Kind of like I don't know, like could be very bottom of the UFC barrel. I like that he kind of was taken for short notice, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to finish this quick. My cardio sucks right now." Like,
and he got that takedown, and then took Guskov's back, and I'm like, "Oh shit, something might happen." And then he actually ends up losing that round, and almost he taps at the end of the first, but the bell had already
he was like way after that. I think he was like saying, "Hey, dude, I'm good." It buzzed, like, yeah. But he wanted out. You could tell he was mentally broken. He wanted out.
His corner asked him how he was feeling, and he was like, "Not good."
Yeah. And then throw in the towel. So you don't let him go out to get beat up. Throw in the towel. When he's crouched down like a catcher and getting punched, like throw in the towel.
Yeah. Only Anthony Smith can pull that off.
Well, he was going against a guy that looked like Anthony Smith, so.
Bogdan Guskov looks so strange from the front because he has no tattoos, but then the second he gets like on a 45-degree angle, it's like, oh, he's part of the Aryan Brotherhood.
like a before and after picture.
Yeah.
Or like the guy's like, I'm gonna go full like tattoos everywhere, but he started in the back first, and the guy like he ran out of money. He's like the guy's like tattoo, like a gun broke or something.
It's
so Guskov, I usually give guys who are taking, like, even the guy who's getting the fight, like, change their opponent at very short notice. I usually kind of give him a pass. We've seen this before. Guys don't look on the best when they have a change of opponent. I kind of give him a pass. But to this, I am a little concerned for a guy who's, closer to the higher level of the division, because he has a pretty glaring weakness. His takedown defense sucks, and his overall grappling. I mean, he was submitted by Volkan Oezdemir, which is not a good sign for a guy not really known for his submission. He said it looking like he had some, better sub defense, and he did, to his credit. Like he did not get sub, but I feel like his stock did go down a little bit.
Yeah, this was like kind of almost even beyond a layup fight, and he's still, even like the finishing sequence, like he's like a sharp counterpuncher would just kill him.
Yeah, I felt like he should have been, like, his opponent was right there for, like, he was standing there to get like highlight reel knocked out, and he didn't. So before he was going to fight Johnny Walker, and I was taking him to pick Johnny Walker, and now I'm like, I'm not as confident. Again, he should get a little bit of a pass, being that it was a different change of opponent.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not as confident as I was heading, if they run it back. Grant Dawson took on Carlos Diego Ferreira. Grant Dawson winning by unanimous decision. What it stands out to me that Grant Dawson is only 30 years old. He just seems like he should be way older.
He even has like an old dude's game.
Yes. But I will say this. I know a lot of people don't like Grant Dawson's style. If he's not a great athlete, but he's a very good grappler, and he has a game plan. He's very good at like implementing his game plan and controlling. If he could press more and really boost up like the pressure game, I really think he could become like a Bilal Muhammad type. I'm not saying he's going to win the title, but I mean just that style of where you're the weaker athlete, but still find ways to win because you're constantly putting the fight in the position that you can win, giving yourself the most opportunities.
Yeah.
It's like stuff in the ballot box. You just keep putting your name in there. There's, you're playing a raffle and you just keep putting your name in there. The more you put your name in, the better chance you have of your name get pulled out. And that's kind of like you can fight your way. But that said, this was such a bad stylistic matchup for Carlos Tejada. You got a guy who's bigger, younger, better at wrestling. Where you want to take the fight. This was a nightmare matchup for Carlos Tejada.
And he had some moments on the feet like most people do with Grant Dawson, but Grant Dawson just did what he does kind of to almost everybody. And I'm curious to see like how high up the totem pole this style can take him. If he just added like some submission ability to his game,
sure,
like some other threat, because he can get people down and dominate them. But yeah, he's got decent ground and pound, but I would really love to see him try to develop some sort of submission game. Like he should have a really mean head and arm choke.
Yeah.
Like something like, it just, when I watch him fight, I'm like, it's like 85% of this is really cool, but I feel like something is just missing.
In his post-fight interview, he called out Beneil Dariush, and the way he called it out was so respectful. And like he's like, yeah, I feel bad that he lost his opponent and then my teammate and everything. He's like, he's looking for an opponent, and I respect him, and I'd be willing to fight him. Kind of a tougher style. This match. I mean, with someone you want to grapple, you want that, dude? Sign me up. Like, make that
sure.
matchup.
Yep. Or Joel Alvarez.
There you go. Before that, Cal Hosa took on Eileen Perez in this fight sucks, but a great underdog call by Ben. Pretty close fight. Could you can make an argument. Carol Hosa won. I'm not making that argument, but it was 8-3 on a major decision, so I can see a little bit. I felt like both fighters was just trying to give the fight away because Hosa was showing no urgency at all when she's getting taken down, laying there for, and then Perez, on the other hand, she's getting takedowns, not doing any damage. And then on the feet, like kind of really backing up towards the cage, not doing much. I feel like both of them like just trying to let the other opponent win. But I will say this, Perez has a great ability to out wrestle, and you don't have to be a great wrestler in the women's division because women's wrestling is kind of a newer thing, and not many women wrestlers, top women wrestlers are coming over to MMA. I hope that changes. But if you can wrestle in this division, you can go extremely far, even with limited skills.
Honestly, to piggyback off of that, it's not even that you can wrestle. It's like just being willing to.
That's a good point. Yeah. And she is.
Yeah. Like she's like, my game plan. Carol Host is like, my game plan is going to be to leg kick you to bits, calf kick you to bits, and then try to win boxing exchanges. Eileen Perez is like, I'm just going to go take people down. And like you said at the top of the show, wrestling is the best base for MMA. And at women's bantamweight, like, no one's really good.
Yeah. She had a very Grant Dawson like performance.
Yeah. No, this fight sucked. I wish we talked about these fights in reverse because we'd be getting to like Jiri and Hill right now.
It kind of boosted up. Yeah.
It's midnight where I'm at, and it's 3 where you're at, and we're talking about Eileen Perez. The highlight of this was her post-fight shake when the ref was holding her hand up. I'm not, whatever. I guess I'm an old-fashioned guy. That never like does it for me. It's super untasteful. She has like a 5-year-old son at home watching his mom do this.
She keeps winning, so you got a matchmaker. I gave her the winner of Julia Vela and Jacqueline Calvicante.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. Before that, Rinya Nakamura took on Miun Gafarov. Gafarov pulling off a huge upset. I mean, I talked about that. This guy's a dog. He's well rounded. The concern I had, and I didn't pick Nakamura, so I had a lot of like warnings, but didn't make the picks. But you have a wrestler who fall in love with his striking, and he has done the mortal sin, in my opinion.
Yep.
One thing I do wonder, and I wonder if this would happen to a lot of wrestlers, is how much do they wrestle anymore? How much do they sit there and they're like, oh, I know how to wrestle, so let me just really work on my striking, catch up on that, and they don't wrestle anymore. So it is a skill that they lose a little bit. And as you get older, wrestling is a very hard thing to do. But let me say this and we'll move on. Like, don't come at me and say, oh, Bo Nickel, it was not impressive when he beat Paul Craig. I'm like, wait a minute. You're telling me the guy with the same exact pedigree as Bo Nickel, who's actually has more pro fights and has longer time as a professional, is losing to Gafarov on the prelims, but Bo Nickel winning on the main card against Paul Craig is not impressive.
Not just losing, like getting lumped up, getting dropped, looking all out of sorts, like not even being able to get entrances for takedowns, didn't even have the ability to. He won that one moment on the ground. I don't know how anyone scored that round for him either. Like that like bad guillotine that he kind of jumped all over, but it took Muin Gafarov to try to kind of get like a kind of like a Muay Thai sweep where he caught the kick and took him down. And like Nakamura had his most success because Muin Gafarov made a mistake. He didn't go out there and create that success.
And he was just kind of controlling. So yeah,
this is a big. I don't know how good Rinya Nakamura is.
Yeah, I'm not going to completely jump off the bandwagon, but I'm sometimes highlight reel knockouts is the worst thing that can happen to wrestlers.
Yep.
And before that, Ricky Tercios took on Bernardo Sopai, and Sopai winning. A really fun, great fight. And that's what Ricky Tercios, he can't be in boring fights because of his nonstop pressure. I mean, it's super hard to handle. What impressed me was obviously Tercios' cardio was great, but what impressed me is Sopai had a lot of variety, but that was impressive. But he started slowing down and looking to get like he was gassed, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be bad for him. He's so much more skilled. But he found his second win in the second. Like he was gassing off. He found his second win, and then in the third round, it looked like he was gassing, and he did it again. And I was like, you know what? That's pretty impressive.
I do think he's going to have problems at bantamweight due to his cardio. Because Sopai is good. He's got tons of skills. Like those knees he was crushing Tercios with in the third round. He definitely flattened Tercios' nose. He hit him with that one knee. He hit him with multiple knees, but that first knee he hit him with. And then Tercios was like kind of like checking his nose. Tercios isn't that good either.
No.
Right?
He's a journeyman, but he's a journeyman that he just it's kind of like we talked about Jared Mercer. He makes fights difficult because
doesn't die.
Yeah. I don't think it's hard to beat Tercios. Like a lot of people will beat Tercios, but I don't think he's a guy when you're done, you're like, oh man, that was so much fun. Like Tercios is like, it's not hard to jump on a treadmill and run, but it still sucks.
Yeah. He's just grimy. Like all of his fights are going to be like weird and grimy because he's kind of unkillable and he can grapple a little bit and he's super willing and he's kind of got that like Diego Sanchez, Tony Ferguson weird mind. But Sopai looked good here. Like his striking looked good. His grappling looked good. His variety, like you said, his variety with the striking. I am concerned about he's got like 9.5 minutes of like solid cardio. And I do think that he kind of leaves the door open going into third rounds of fights. and this time it didn't pay, but Vinicius Oliveira made him pay for that, kind of flagging a little bit. But maybe he can get that together.
And before that, on paper, a really fun fight. Undefeated prospects. Clayton Carpenter took on Tejada Ulanbekov winning by unanimous decision. My concern with Ulanbekov is he was able to out wrestle Carpenter. He didn't do any damage on top. There was a lot of stalling, not doing much. I'm concerned. He go against a flyweight that can really kick. He's gonna have a problem. He still does not check leg kicks. Every fight he fights, he's getting that lead leg beat up. He called for a fight against a champion Alexander Pantoja. It might have been a little bit like, I'm coming for you in the future, 3-4 fights now. But I'm not like, I know he's Khabib's team and stuff. I'm still not sold. I'm giving him Kai Asakura next.
Sure, I like it. See if I was thinking Amir Albazi.
Okay,
maybe
sure.
that's a shot up. But I kind of share all the same concerns. He doesn't seem fragile, but he's tough. But I just I just don't think he's got the. I don't think he'll be a top 5 flyweight.
So there you have it. We covered all 13 fights. We're almost at 2 hours, so let's breeze through some of the fun stuff. I'm going to make this really short. We do the cut list. The cut list is where if both me and Dev have the same person on our list, we allow the UFC to get rid of them to make room for anybody else. I'll make this one really short. Dev, I have nobody on my cut list. I'm keeping everybody.
I agree.
So there you go. And even if you didn't, they don't get cut because I'm saving everybody. Let's go, dude. Seriously, I'll tell you. Usually, a lot of my dude seriously I get from listening to the broadcast. I had the NFL playoff games on the side, so a lot of times, during walkouts, I was watching that and stuff. So, do you have any dude serious? I have some, but I'll let you go first.
Dude, seriously, Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen are the coaches of the next season of The Ultimate Fighter. Honestly, I think that is going to. I don't want to say save The Ultimate Fighter, but I mean, if anyone's got a chance to make it fun, those two dudes do. Yeah. Another one I've got is DC literally just called the Bernardo Sopai fight, and then he's like, "What's that guy's name? Sergio?" I'm like, bro.
Well, I can't blame him for that.
14 minutes.
I can't blame him for that because I watch the fights and take notes, and I still by the end of the night, I'm not pronouncing their names right. So, but in fairness, I didn't spend the whole week in Los Angeles interviewing them and doing all that.
You didn't just call his whole fight and said it DC said, DC, I heard you say his name 14 minutes ago. Now you forgot it. You called him Sergio. What's that guy's name? Sergio.
I love DC. I don't know why people hate him. I think he's so funny. Any other ones?
I mean, we kind of already touched on Tiger Ulanbekov, calling out Pantoja. Yeah. And my buddy and I were texting. This is not a dude seriously, but I guess I'll fit it in here. He was texting me about Jamal Hill's tattoos, and he's like, I can't get over his cheap tattoos. And my response to him was, I don't think they were cheap. I think they were free. They were so bad. So that's all I've got.
There you go. I got a couple of dudes. First off, we just kind of talked about Eileen Perez. Dude, seriously, enough with the shake in the ass thing. I'm assuming she has a dad and I couldn't imagine being her dad.
She has a 5-year-old son.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being her dad, watching her with cheering for your daughter to win and get now to win. You're yeah, and then instantly your daughter's shaking her ass in front of millions of people. I have daughters. I would be devastated if that happened. Dude, seriously. My number 2, this would have been a holy shit, dude, seriously. In the Grant Dawson versus Calisthenics fight. This is very short, so most people probably didn't catch it or don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But Calisthenics Fajeda almost caught Grant Dawson in a spladle, which is a crazy wrestling move. I would have fucking went nuts. So, dude, seriously, nice for trying it. DC at one point they were talking about Cain Velasquez and his cardio, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Cain never gets tired." Dude, seriously, Cain
Sea
lost.
level Cain.
No, Cain lost his title because he got tired against Fabricio Verdun. Like, dude, seriously. And my last one is like, and someone actually early in the show kind of commented on this and kind of stole my thunder. But dude, seriously, heading in the fifth round, going, the fourth round ends, the fifth round, Merab and Umar go to their corners, and they don't go to the corner man talking to them heading into the fifth round. Like, dude, seriously, like you blew a fucking moment. Imagine you're Merab. It's 2-2. Everyone has a 2-2. All the judges had a 2-2. Oh, I think one judge had 3-1, but the other two had a 2-2. You have Merab going back to Ray Longo. Imagine what he's saying to him, that like New York accent, like, and then on the other side, you have Khabib trying to give a like hoorah speech to
no translator, no nothing.
Like, dude, seriously, what the fuck? What a blown moment. Like, imagine you have Khabib, who's viewed as like older brother or even a father figure, talking to his son in that moment. Like, it probably was like a speech, and like you watched the movie The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg and his like older brothers in it. Like, it was probably like that kind of moment. Like we think about that boxing.
The Leon Edwards fight where Leon Edwards' coach said, "You got to pull it out of the fucking fire," and then he goes out there and head kicks. Like,
yes. I think about the boxing,
punch a hole through his fucking chest from Ray Longo.
Yes, I think about boxing. Yeah, I can't think of his name. The legendary boxing coach, but he's talking to the guy,
Teddy Atlas. We're firefighter. Yeah, but that's just so awesome.
Yeah, like you could have had that moment. So awesome. You blew it. Like, dude, seriously. All right, let's go to the awards. I have the awards. So there's a fight of the night and 2 performances. Do you know them, Dev?
I do not.
Okay. Well, let's do the obvious. The fight of the night. Merab and Umar. You're gonna pick that.
Really?
That was obviously the fight of the night. All right. So let's go with the performances. What would you have given for the performances before I tell you what got, and I'll tell you what I would have given.
You know what? I wouldn't have minded them made Jiri and Hill fight of the night either. Performance of the night, Islam Makhachev probably got another 50 G's, even though it was a short notice opponent and he was a 12-1 favorite. And if Jiri and Hill didn't get fight of the night, Jiri probably got performance of the night for going out there and catching a body.
So Jiri did get performance of the night, and I'm okay with that. But Makhachev did not, which I was really surprised. I think based on the circumstance, I know he killed him and he was a huge favorite and kind of, but still, like, he just went right out main event, submitted a guy. I think he should have got it. I might not have given Jiri it. I think Dolidze should have got something. Like, took Kevin Holland on, submitted him right away. So to answer your question, so who did get it? Gelton Almeida got it, which I'm okay. I mean, he got a stoppage. Whatever.
Sure.
Okay. But I think, he did the same thing that Makhachev did. Makhachev did it quicker. I
even think Bekov knocking out Zachary Reese, that was like the most violent knockout of the night.
That's true. He took the fight, and that's life changing for someone like that. Taking on that week. So, generally speaking, not too bad of the bonuses they did, but I would have given them to some other people. Let's do it quick. Let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You do not want to be on the Bears list. We do it hockey style 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Let's go Bulls. Let's go positive. So these are the people who had a really good night. I'm going to go first. Is that all right?
Sure.
All right. So my number 3, it wasn't the funnest fight, but she has won 5 fights in a row in the UFC. You can't ignore it. And I just bashed her early on the dude, seriously, but she keeps winning. Eileen Perez beat a ranked opponent, and Carol Hossa, 5 wins in a row. Her stock is going up. My number 2, again, so I'm not a believer in him, but he's now 2-0 in the UFC with 2 stoppages by submission. Renato Moicano, obviously had a lot of success in one championship, so I understand he's got the pedigree, but now 2-0 in the UFC, got a big win on a big UFC pay-per-view, which always kind of boosts your stock up. I mean, I can see him on like Errol Helwani this week talking about it and getting buzz. And my number one, a lot of people got number one, but I mean, it's the talk of this week is not going to be Islam Makhachev. It's going to be Merab Dvalishvili. This dude is absolutely incredible. I mean, 12 wins in a row. If you really look at it, those two wacky shit with Frankie losing to Frankie Simon, which a fight he should have won, and the wacky thing that happened with Ricky Simon. If you give them wins like they should be, this guy could be on a 20-fight winning streak. So, do you have any other bulls?
Yes, I do. Honey Barcelos, dude,
that's a good call. That's a really
like
good call.
what like he may get the biggest upset of 2025. Like Peyton Talbot was like over a -1,000 favorite. Like Honey was a huge dog, and he kind of went out there and just did his thing. Merab.
Apparently, I must have called you Ben.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
What?
Hey, finished.
It's
You were talking
16 a.m. where I am right now.
Yeah,
it's 3 where you are.
Yeah,
I didn't even catch it.
Remember the day I had, and in fairness, I've done the show with Ben 500 times.
I also, I did the thing today where I hiked 5 miles in the snow uphill in below freezing. I really did, and I went fishing.
Really?
I really did. I hiked like 5 miles today. Like it was 26 degrees, and I was out fishing. It was really stupid.
But
so
and you guys both wear those straight brimmed hat.
Yep. So and
like you're 13.
Got a steelhead on it, baby. And Jiri Prochazka, like, even though he's 0-2 against the champ, and he was kind of in a title eliminator-ish fight, beating a guy like Hill is only going to make him even more of a fan favorite. He won the most Jiri Prochazka fight ever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That guy's no man. That guy, and honestly, his back was against the wall. He really needed. I mean, they both those guys really did. They both kind of took a chance. Any other bulls?
Islam Makhachev's always gonna, Merab.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he. Oh yeah. One thing we talk about Merab. Merab also set the record for most takedowns in UFC history. So that's pretty impressive.
And he's still going.
For his career passing GSP. All right, let's go. The Bears. This list you do not want to be on. Dev, I'll let you go first.
Bears, undefeated prospects, young guns.
0-4. There was 4 guys on this card that was undefeated. They all lost their own. That would be Carpenter, Nakamura, Talbot, and Nurmagomedov. Nice call. Any other ones?
Yeah. Jamal Hill.
Yeah.
As soon as you and I are done here, I'm going to spend like 30 minutes reading comments on his Twitter.
Oh, poor guy.
I really want to see what people have to say. I won't say anything because I have a professional job, so I can't talk shit online, but I can surely read comments.
Gotta make a fake Twitter account.
Yeah. Keith Shillan. Carol Hossa, she was the higher ranked opponent, and she has all the tools to beat someone like Aileen Perez. And she just this really deflating performance from Carol Hossa, because I liked her, like her fights with Irene Aldana, brawls. I just expected more from her, and yeah, you made me watch Perez twerk. I don't mind, but
yeah. So I'm gonna like all the ones. I actually had all 3 of those on my list as top ones. So I'll give you a couple other ones. Even though you did talk about undefeated prospects losing, I feel like Carpenter and the Nurmagomedov, they lost, which always hurts them. But
sure.
Ben
goes fishing.
Educated.
That's funny.
Educated coming in strong late. He's trying to get that listener that's coming in strong pretty late.
That's funny.
Educated is like Merab, like builds up as the night goes on. But so those 2 people, I felt they lost, but they didn't have bad showings.
Sure.
Rinya Nakamura had a terrible showing, and Peyton Talbot had a terrible showing. So I feel like their stock is really. I mean, Peyton Talbot was as hyped. He was getting more buzz in this card. Other than the four guys in the top two fights, he was getting the next. He was getting as much buzz as like Yuri and Jamal Hill was getting. So I mean, he was one of the guys featured on Embedded, while his opponent was even talked about and shown at a single time. So, number two. Yeah, not the worst because you stole some really good ones, but Sergey Spivac. I mean, it's like one step forward, one step back, constantly with this guy. He can never like take the next step up. He keeps getting these like big challenges, and he really flops in everyone. And my number one, Texas fighters.
Oh, the Houston fighters did get beat up real
bad.
All of
Texas, you added all of Texas. They went 0-4 on the night.
Zachary Reese,
Adam Holland, Reese, Fajeda, and Tercios. 0-4. Add in that Ben's back injury knocked him out of this one.
Is he really?
No, I was just making a joke.
Oh, okay. I was going to see if he's okay.
No, I was just making a joke because Armin pulled out the back injury. No, he had, stuff. Yeah. And added to that, not only did Ben pull out and all four of those, but the Houston Texans also got eliminated from the playoffs today. It was just a real Texas Longhorns lost this past week, and was it Friday night? Last Friday in college football. They got eliminated. Like, it is not a good time to be from the Lone Star State. So Texas is your big loser of the night. There you guys have it. Let's go to the grade. What was your grade for the card?
I give it an A-. This is a good card, man. Some last
A-. Damn.
It's still January. It's the first pay-per-view of the year. It's the second card of the year. I'm living in the moment. At the end of the year, I'll probably give it a B.
All right. I'm gonna go B-. It started off terrible. Like, there was I think it was 6 or 7 fights in a row with all the stoppages. So that was really that. Losing Sarukian fight, right? Always kind of put you. I wasn't giving you an A right away. But it finished really strong. The last 3 fights really finished strong with the two. I mean, I think if the main event was a little bit more, just Makhachev running right through him, is like whatever. I mean, I would have liked a little bit more competition. So I'll go B-. So generally still pretty happy. Hardest question always of the night is, who's your listener of the night?
Man, I gotta give it to Ninja Kitty, even though Ninja Kitty probably shouldn't even be eligible for listener of the night at this point for the Ben Goes Fishing. Ninja Kitty is probably so sharp because they don't live in Ninja Kitty. Do you live in an American time zone? Because there's no way you can be this sharp at this hour.
It's pretty funny, Ninja Kitty. Well, I mean, it'd be worse if he or she did it. If he was like Europe and be like 8 a.m. or something. I'm gonna go with my man, and there's a lot of them. My man Jade came in strong, but I'm gonna go with John Butterfield. He was really good. Had some really good questions and comments and insightful stuff. So I'll go with John Butterfield as my listener of the night. So there you guys have it. We he is an American. Canada, the new 51st state. When Trump takes office on Monday, Canada's gonna be on the 51st state. That in Greenland. So
and the Panama Canal.
Yeah, 51 and 52. So there you guys have it. We've covered all 13 fights, and we believe it's the most in-depth recap show in the world. I'm your host, Keith Shillan. He is Dev Tejada. We will be back. We actually have a week off. They kind of got right back with a week off. So the next card is a big one. Is Israel Adesanya, the return of Israel Adesanya taking on Nasruddin Imavov. So we'll be previewing that, but that won't be out for another week. So enjoy the week off, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.